Does truth exist?
Because you have faith, does that make this book true?
Does God exist?
So when someone says there is no truth, if you apply the claim to itself, what should you say? Is that true? They don't think Christianity's true. They're talked out of it. You know why they're talked out of it? Because they've never been talked into it.
Cross-examining skeptical and atheistic views. Welcome to Cross-Examine with Dr. Frank Turek.
What are the top atheist objections to Christianity on campus? And then how can we answer them? You know, yesterday, it was actually last week, seems like yesterday, we were talking about this topic, and I was about to mention some of the objections I had recently gotten on some campuses up there in Michigan, and we never got to them. We had so many phone calls. But we started talking last week about atheist dogma, that atheists are actually more dogmatic than Christians, that they're more narrow than Christians, that atheists are only open to one answer. And what's that answer? Whatever cause you're looking at has to be a natural cause. It has to be a materialistic cause. That was the fact that they're more narrow than Christians, because Christians are open to both natural and intelligent, or we might even say natural and supernatural causes. We're open to both, whereas the atheists are only open to natural causes. And they're only open to it philosophically. They just rule out intelligent causes. They just rule out supernatural causes before they look at the evidence. And that is called methodological naturalism. This rules out God in advance. It begs the question. It assumes what it's trying to prove. It's heads I win, tails you lose. And it actually is logically self-defeating to say that all truth comes from science. This is called scientism. All truth comes from science. When somebody asks you that, or somebody says that to you, all truth comes from science, you might first ask them, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by science? What is science? We pointed out last week, science is a search for causes. You might then also ask them, how did you come to that conclusion that all science or all truth comes from science? Does the truth that all truth comes from science come from science? No, it can't. It can't be proven by science that all truth comes from science, because the claim all truth comes from science is not a scientific claim. It's a philosophical claim. And as I've mentioned 1,000 times on this program before, you can't do science without philosophy. Science is built on philosophy. Scientists don't say anything, or I should say science doesn't say anything. Scientists say things. And if a scientist is bad at philosophy, they're probably going to come to some bad conclusions. What are some of the objections, then, that these atheists come up with on college campuses? When you go present evidence that Christianity is true, and if you use some scientific evidence like we do when we go to college campuses, what are the objections that they'll bring up? Because we'll say things, or at least I'll say things like, well, the universe exploded into being out of nothing. So if that's the case, if all space, matter, and time were created, then it seems a logical conclusion that the cause must be outside of space, time, and matter. In other words, the cause must be spaceless, timeless, and immaterial. Seems like a reasonable conclusion to the data that we see. So, what do they say to that? They'll say, and these are the objections you're going to get, well, wait a minute. Wait, that's just a God of the gaps argument. You're just bringing God in when you don't have a natural answer or an answer from nature yet. But one day we'll find a natural answer, or we'll find an answer from nature. We'll find a natural cause, and your God conclusion will be proven wrong. It's a God of the gaps argument. Or they might say, wait, who made God? You're saying that God created the universe, but who made God? You got to answer that. You just can't punt to God because you don't have a naturalistic cause. And if you do punt to God, I'm just going to ask you, well, who made God? They also might say, wait, we don't even need a cause here, because at the quantum level, you see, subatomic particles, they come into existence without a cause. So maybe the universe popped into existence without a cause. I mean, it's possible, right? Why are you always punting to God? I've even heard this objection on a college campus. Given enough time, anything will happen. So given enough time, we're going to get to a universe like this universe we have here, which may appear to have design in it. It may appear like there's a cause out there beyond it, but there really isn't. Because given enough time, anything will happen. These are some of the objections you're going to hear, especially when you're bringing up evidence that the universe had a cause beyond itself. So how do you deal with these arguments? That's what we're going to do today. And a little bit later in the program, we'll take your phone calls on this topic and any others you may want to bring up today regarding the existence of God or the truth of Christianity. You're listening to Cross-Examined with Frank Turek on the AFR Talk Radio Network. Here's our website, crossexamined.org. That's cross-examined with a D on the end of it, .org. What we do here is we present evidence for Christianity. We cross-examine ideas against it. Go to a lot of college campuses, churches, and high schools to show that Christianity is indeed true. In the coming week, I will be at Ohio University Wednesday, February 23rd, and then at Ohio State on the 24th and the 25th. All the details for those events are on our website, crossexamined.org. Just click on speaking schedule, and you can see those details. And by the way, they're all open to the public. So if you're in the Columbus area, or I think it's the Athens, Ohio area for Ohio University, just come on down and join us, and there will be time for Q&A. And you'll see that some of these questions will come up. Well, let's deal with this God of the Gaps argument question before we go to the break, because that's a big one you're going to hear quite a bit. That if you say that God created the universe, they're going to say, man, that's a God of the Gaps argument. In fact, I was up in Michigan, University of Michigan, and I had a atheist actually bring this up. In fact, his name was John. And I remembered him. I happened to see this guy a couple of years ago when I was up at another college in Michigan, and he was the first to ask the question a couple of weeks ago at the University of Michigan. There were about 400 people in the room, and he stood up and he said, Frank, I think you may be using a God of the Gaps argument here. And I said, I remember you from Oakland University. Your name is John. You know a friend of mine, Jason Reed. He was flabbergasted that I remembered him, but he was a nice guy that I had spoken to for about an hour after maybe not that long, maybe about half an hour after a session we had up at Oakland University a couple years prior. So I had known him personally, but I guess he didn't realize that I'd remember him. Anyway, he said, I think you're using the God of the Gaps argument here, that you're just bringing God in for your cosmological argument when, if we look long enough, someday we're going to find a natural cause for the universe. In fact, this is what Richard Dawkins says. Richard Dawkins says, well, look, Darwin has ruled out God for biology. We're just looking for some sort of Darwin-type scientist in physics to help us figure out where the physical universe came from. So this kid, John, is basically saying the same thing that Dawkins is saying. Now, here's the problem. For their point of view, that this is a God of the Gaps argument. Well, let me unpack the God of the Gaps thing just a little bit more so you understand what this is about in case you haven't heard this. God of the Gaps argument is to say that when we have a gap in our knowledge, when we don't know what caused something, it is illegitimate just to plug God in as the cause. Because, we used to do that. We used to do that with earthquakes. We used to do that with thunder and lightning. Back in the day when we didn't know that there were natural causes that created these types of events, we would say, oh, the gods must be angry. And we'd plug God in to explain these things. And later on, of course, we learned that that wasn't the case, that there were these other causes, these other natural causes that may be causing earthquakes and lightning and thunder and those types of natural phenomenal events. And so Christians came away with egg on their faces by trying to suggest that God was the primary cause of those events. As Christians, we believe that God is the primary cause, but there are secondary causes, that God works through natural causes to create these things. So how do we deal with this God of the Gaps argument or this objection? That's what we're going to do after the break. I'm Frank Turek. You're listening to Cross-Examined with Frank Turek on the AFR Talk Radio Network. If you want to join the conversation today, 1-888-589-8840. 1-888-589-8840. Don't go away. We're going to be back in 2 minutes with a God of the Gaps argument and who made God. One of the top objections you hear on college campuses to Christianity and the arguments that we give for the existence of God. I'm Frank Turek. You're listening to Cross-Examined with Frank Turek and the AFR Talk Radio Network, crossexamined.org. Cross-Examined with a D on the end of it.org, our website. We were talking before the break about this objection that atheists bring up when you say that God created, say, the universe. They'll say that's a God of the gaps argument. You're plugging God into the gap of your knowledge in order to just say that God is the cause, when in fact at some point we will find a natural cause for all of this. And this is what John in Michigan, at the University of Michigan, a skeptic, an atheist there, was bringing up a couple of weeks ago when I was there. And here is my response. No, John, this is not a God of the gaps argument. Why? Because we will never find a natural cause for all of nature. If nature had a beginning, and all the scientific and philosophical evidence points to the fact that it did, that at some point space, matter, and time had a beginning. If that's the case, the cause can't be inside of space, matter, and time. It must be, quote unquote, outside of space, matter, and time. It's got to be spaceless, timeless, and immaterial. Why? Because you can't have all space, matter, and time being created and then have the cause of it being part of space, matter, and time. If space, matter, and time had a beginning, then the cause must be spaceless, timeless, and immaterial. So you can't have a natural cause for all of nature. Nature is the effect. So nature can't be the cause. Nature had a beginning, so the cause must be beyond nature. In fact, what's the word we use for beyond nature? Supernature or supernatural. Super means beyond the natural, like Superman means beyond the man. Supernatural means beyond the natural. We will never find a natural cause for all of nature. We will not find a natural cause for all natural causes. That would be like saying, and here's what I said to John at the University of Michigan, to say that one day you will find a natural cause for all of nature is like saying that one day you will find that you gave birth to your parents. You will never find that. Keep looking, but you'll never find it. You will not find one day, given enough time, that you gave birth to your parents. Why? Because you are the effect, your parents are the cause, the instrumental cause through which you came into existence. So you will not, by definition, find out that you gave birth to your parents. Your mother gave birth to you. You can look forever, and you will never find out that you gave birth to your mother. Likewise, you can look forever, and you will never find that a natural cause gave rise to all other natural causes. Because natural causes are the effects here. Nature is the effect at the beginning, not the cause. In fact, you could turn this back on the atheist and say, look, this is a natural cause or a natural law of the gap argument that you're bringing up here. You just have faith that one day you're going to find a natural cause for all natural causes. It's a faith position is all it is. And by the way, this also answers the objection, who made God? If space, matter, and time had a beginning, then the cause must be spaceless, timeless, and immaterial. If you're timeless, do you have a beginning? No, you're eternal. God is eternal. He doesn't have a beginning, so he doesn't need a cause. You see, the principle of causality does not say everything has a cause. It says everything that comes to be has a cause. So since God didn't come to be, then God doesn't need a cause. Look, even the ancient philosophers, Plato, Aristotle, they knew this. They knew there had to be an unmoved mover. They knew there had to be an uncaused first cause. There's only two possibilities. Look, either the universe is the uncaused first cause, or something outside the universe is the uncaused first cause. The evidence shows that the universe had a beginning. In other words, it's not the universe that is the uncaused first cause. If that's the case, then the only other option is something outside the universe is the uncaused first cause, the uncreated creator, the unmoved mover. Well, if something outside the universe is the uncaused first cause, then that being is spaceless, timeless, immaterial, personal. Why is it personal? Because an impersonal force has no ability to create anything. An impersonal force does not create anything. It doesn't really cause anything. It just describes what normally happens. This is one of the fallacies in Stephen Hawking's book, where he says because there is a law like gravity, the universe can and will create itself out of nothing. First of all, what Hawking seems to forget is gravity had a beginning itself. Gravity only exists in the natural world. You need nature to have gravity. What caused nature? That's the very question. So gravity isn't the cause. Gravity's the effect. Secondly, gravity doesn't cause anything per se. It can't create anything. Gravity cannot cause something to go from a state of non-existence to a state of existence. In order to go from non-existence to existence, the cause has to make a choice. And only personal beings make choices. Impersonal forces don't make choices. If you step off a step, gravity will pull you to the ground. And you can do that over and over again. Or you can say you take a pen. I have a pen right here. I'm dropping it over and over again on my desk. As I drop this pen, gravity, yes, pulls it to the ground. But gravity isn't thinking, if he drops that pen one more time, I'm not going to pull it to the ground. No, gravity doesn't make choices. Gravity just describes what normally happens. To go from a state of non-existence where there is no creation at all, there's no natural world, there's no space, matter, or time, to a state of existence where there is space, matter, and time, so the cause has to be personal. In addition to being spaceless, timeless, and immaterial, the cause has to be personal. Well, now you're talking about a spaceless, timeless, immaterial, personal cause. Someone who makes choices. This is not a God of the gaps argument. This is just following the evidence where it leads. Also, the other interesting question about the who made God question. First of all, it presupposes, or I guess it illustrates, is a better way of putting it, it illustrates how seriously we take the law of causality, right? I mean, we think that everything that comes to be has a cause. Atheists think that when they bring this up. They say, well, if you're saying that God is the cause of the universe, well, who made God? Okay? It just goes to show you how seriously we take this law of causality. Okay, yeah, that's true. We take that very seriously. But, for years, atheists have said, long before the Big Bang cosmology and other evidence which showed the universe had a beginning, they'd said, well, the universe is just eternal, so it doesn't need a cause. Well, if the universe can be eternal and not need a cause, why can't God be eternal and not need a cause? I mean, you're ready to accept an eternal universe. Why are you not ready to accept an eternal God? Especially when the evidence points to the fact that since we're down to two choices, either the universe is eternal or something outside the universe is eternal, we come to the conclusion it's not the universe that's eternal. It must be something outside the universe with the attributes of spacelessness, timelessness, immateriality, and personality. Why can't you just accept that? Ooh, don't want to go there. No, we don't want to go there. We don't want to go there because that sounds too much like God. We don't want God. We don't want God to exist. God exists. He brings morality with him, and we don't like that. Ooh, now we're getting too close to home here. Now we have a volitional reason to reject this spaceless, timeless, immaterial, personal being. We don't want there to be a God. If you're an atheist, or you know somebody who's an atheist, why are you an atheist? Or why do you think the person that you know is an atheist is an atheist? The evidence seems to point that there's something beyond this world, something beyond this universe that brought it into existence and is actually holding it together right now. Something spaceless, timeless, immaterial, personal. intelligent as well, because this universe is put together with extreme precision. So these arguments, oh, by the way, let me continue my thought there. If you're an atheist or know somebody who's an atheist, call in. Tell me why you're an atheist. Why are you an atheist? What evidence do you have for an atheistic worldview? Or if you know somebody who is an atheist, why do you think they're an atheist? 1-888-589-8840. 1-888-589-8840. After the break, we'll get to your calls. Or we'll go on to some of these other arguments that we hear from the atheists on campus. 1-888-589-8840. What are some of these other objections that you hear? The other objection I hear all the time on college campuses is this. Well, you keep saying there's got to be a cause, but there doesn't really need to be a cause. Why doesn't there need... Oh, wait. I forgot one other thing about the who made God thing. There's one other thing we need to talk about, the who made God thing. You know, you get older, you start to lose your train of thought. Yeah, that's it. The who made God thing you hear all the time. Do you know that the question is an interesting question? We've already answered why no one made the uncaused first cause, but it is an interesting question when people bring it up, who made God? If I asked you, let me pull a book off my shelf. Hey, here's a book right here. The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins. If I asked you who made this book, like who wrote this book, you, being a reasonable person, would say, well, Richard Dawkins, right? Suppose I look back at you and I said, whoa, wait, that is not good enough. Who made Richard Dawkins? You might say, well, you know what? That's an interesting question, but it doesn't bear on the answer to the first question, who made the God Delusion? Right? You can know who made the God Delusion without knowing who made Richard Dawkins. Likewise, you can know who made the universe without knowing who made the God who created the universe. In other words, the two questions aren't necessarily related. So, who made God? An interesting question, but it doesn't bear on the fact that who made the universe. And we've already seen, by the way, that the universe, who made the universe, is timeless, so it doesn't need a cause. 1-888-589-8840. 1-888-589-8840. If you're an atheist or know an atheist, why are you an atheist? Or the person you know, why do you think they're an atheist? We'll talk about it after the break and get to some more of these objections. See you in 2 minutes. 1-888-589-8840. 1-888-589-8840. If you're an atheist or know an atheist, why are you an atheist? Or the person you know, why do you think they're an atheist? Or if you just have a question about any of this material we're talking about today, I'm Frank Turek. We're talking about objections that atheists bring up to Christianity, particularly the argument that Christians bring up for the existence of God. Arguments that I bring up on college campuses, like the argument from the beginning of the universe and the design of the universe. And we've already pointed out that when I bring up an argument and other Christian apologists do, like the universe had a beginning, therefore it must have had a beginner, we hear arguments like, oh, the God of the gaps argument, or who made God. We've already dealt with them in the first half of the program. There's another objection that I hear quite a bit. And by the way, if you call in, let the phone ring. We have Abby Stanley, the great Abby Stanley, our 10-year-old call screener, is handling the calls today, so be nice to her. 1-888-589-8840. 1-888-589-8840. The other objection that I hear quite a bit, in addition to the God of the gaps argument, there's one other thing about God of the gaps I need to bring up. It's not just a gap in our knowledge when we hear or when we say that God is the creator, that we're just filling in a gap in our knowledge. It's not just a gap in our knowledge, but certain aspects of our universe are positive evidence for an intelligent being, a spaceless, timeless, immaterial intelligent being, a personal being. We don't just lack a natural explanation for the creation of the universe out of nothing. We're saying that if all space, matter, and time had a beginning, and it did so in a very precise way, a very fine-tuned universe, that's positive evidence for an intelligent, spaceless, timeless, immaterial being. So it's not just a gap in our knowledge. It's that we have positive evidence for a spaceless, timeless, immaterial, intelligent being. In any event, let's go to the other objection that I get quite a bit, and that is we don't really need a cause here, because you see at the quantum level, subatomic particles come into existence without a cause, and so maybe the whole universe could come into existence without a cause, and therefore, voila, we don't need God. In other words, when you think of the argument that we give on college campuses for the existence of God when it comes to the universe, it's called the cosmological argument. There are a couple of premises to the argument and then a conclusion. The first premise is everything that comes to be has a cause. The second premise is the universe came to be. The conclusion is, therefore, the universe had a cause. And for many years, atheists would attack the second premise. The second premise being that that the universe came to be. They would argue, no, the universe is eternal, therefore it doesn't need a cause. They don't really argue that much anymore. You know what they argue more than anything? They argue the first premise. What's the first premise? The first premise is that everything that comes to be had a cause. They already know the universe came to be. That's the second premise. Now they're trying to attack the first premise. And one of the ways they attack it is this quantum argument, which tries to say that at the quantum level, at the very small subatomic level, subatomic particles appear to pop into existence without a cause. So therefore, maybe the law of causality does not hold. And if subatomic particles can pop into existence without a cause, then maybe the whole universe can pop into existence without a cause. See, that's the argument here. They're attacking the first premise of the cosmological argument. Basically, they're attacking the law of causality. That's what they're attacking here. Now, this is very dangerous ground for a scientist. Why? Because science is built on the law of causality. What do scientists do? Scientists search for causes. They're trying to figure out why a particular effect, or what caused a particular effect. What is the cause of a particular effect? They're attacking this now. They're trying to say that maybe the universe could pop into existence without a cause. Let's respond to that briefly, and then we'll get to your phone calls. Again, 888-589-8840. 888-589-8840. If you're an atheist or know an atheist, why are you an atheist? Or the person you know who's an atheist, why do you think they're an atheist? We'll get to your, and any other question you want to ask is fine. 1-888-589-8840. Quantum uncausality is basically the issue here. Let me point out in response to this, first of all, this is very speculative. There are at least 10 different interpretations of quantum mechanics. Some are deterministic, some are not. In other words, some appear to show that there is a cause. Others say, well, no, maybe there isn't a cause at the subatomic level. According to atheist Victor Stenger, who's a hardcore atheist, he says there's no consensus as to what the right interpretation is. So we really don't know at the quantum level whether there's causality or not causality. It's a big question mark. The 10 different interpretations are all speculative, and all of them seem to work equally well according to the mathematics, and many of the mathematics haven't even been worked out yet. So it's a very speculative science. Also, the other point here is that subatomic particles do not come into being out of nothing. They don't come into existence out of non-being. They come into existence in a subatomic vacuum, which is comprised of fluctuating energy. So this is not nothing. This is not non-being. This is something. Here's the question. What caused the vacuum? What caused the vacuum? See, it's not analogous to the whole universe coming into existence. When the universe comes into existence, out of nothing, no space, no matter, no time. What is nothing? Aristotle had a good definition of nothing. He said nothing is what rocks dream about. When a universe comes into existence out of what rocks dream about, nothing, no space, no matter, no time, that's not a quantum vacuum. That's nothing. That's non-being. That's no thing. A subatomic vacuum is something. So the question is, what caused the subatomic vacuum? Thirdly, this may be an issue of unpredictability rather than uncausality. In other words, according to the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, it says we can't predict the simultaneous speed and location of a subatomic particle. But that doesn't mean that we can't, or that doesn't mean that because we can't predict the simultaneous speed and location, or the speed and location simultaneously, I should say, of a subatomic particle, that doesn't mean that that subatomic particle came into existence without a cause. In other words, it just may show the limit of our ability to discover where and how fast a particular subatomic particle is moving than it is to say that that particle had no cause. And finally, I might say that all science is built on causality. If you want to cast doubt on the law of causality, then you might as well give up all science, including your coveted Darwinistic theory that all life came from the first non-living. You might as well just give it all up. Because every argument now that you bring up that says science has disproved God, you might as well just do away with it, because science can't be relied on if you're going to cast doubt on the law of causality. And that's what this objection does. That if you're going to say that, whoa, maybe the universe popped into existence without a cause, just like it appears that perhaps subatomic particles pop into existence without a cause, if you want to say that, then why don't you just get rid of all science? You can't trust anything from science then. And as I mentioned, I don't think we need to go there, because the subatomic realm is very speculative. And secondly, these particles, whatever they are and whatever speed and velocity they are and all that, they're not coming into existence out of non-being. They're coming into existence out of a subatomic vacuum. And that is something. It's not nothing. It's not no thing. All right, let me go to your calls here. You've been patient. 1-888-589-8840. 1-888-589-8840 if you'd like to join the conversation today. If you're an atheist or know an atheist, call in. Let's talk. All right, let's go to Angie, who's listening in Hewitt, Texas. Did I say that right? Is it Hewitt?
Yes, that's correct.
Hey, Angie, welcome to the program.
Good morning. I don't remember his name, but a pretty prestigious physicist was on a radio talk show a few nights ago, and he was saying that he was using the multiverse theory to prove that there was no God, and I didn't even understand how he got from one to the other.
Yeah, well, most people don't, because it doesn't make much sense. But that's a good question, Angie. Let's deal with that. Here's basically what the multiverse says. It's an admission that the universe is so precisely designed for life that what some scientists are saying is they're trying to say, well, there are multiple universes out there, Angie, and we just happen to be in the one that appears to be designed, but it really isn't, because there are so many other universes out there that aren't designed.
Yes, that's what he said.
Yeah, exactly. Now, here's the problem. There's a number of problems with this theory. Number one, and perhaps the most devastating rebuke of this theory, is there is no evidence for it. In other words, it is just thought up as a possibility without any evidence in order to avoid the obvious conclusion that this universe is designed. Secondly, multiple universes wouldn't get rid of the need for a creator, but it would multiply the need for a creator, because you need a creator to get all these other universes started.
Exactly.
There's a couple other things, too, which is interesting, is that a scientist by the name of Alexander Vilenkin, and I don't know, this may have been the guy you were listening to, Vilenkin, back in 2006 wrote a book called Many Worlds in One. Now, this guy, Angie, believes in the multiverse, but even he admits that if there are multiple universes out there, the whole show, all the multiple universes together, need an absolute beginning. So it doesn't get rid of the need for a beginner, even if it's true. Now, it has some absurd implications, this multi-universe theory. Let me give you one of them, and this is how I dealt with it recently at the University of Michigan. A couple of weeks ago, I was talking about being up there, and as I mentioned earlier in the program, we'll be at Ohio University and Ohio State University this coming week. Check our website, crossexamine.org, for more on this. But Angie, this one gal, atheist, during the Q&A was trying to say, well, given enough time, anything's possible, right? And she was trying to bring up the multi-universe theory. And according to this theory, every possible universe exists. So there's a universe somewhere where, Angie, you are the host and I'm the caller. And I'm asking the question and you're answering like I'm answering. In other words, every possibility is actually actual somewhere. So here's how I dealt with the objection. I said to her, let's suppose you and I are playing poker and I get a royal flush. Now, what are the odds of getting a royal flush? Well, it's 650,000 to 1. And you might look at me and go, hey, lucky hand. And I go, that's right. And then for the next 5 hands in a row, I get a royal flush. After 5 hands, what are you going to accuse me of doing?
Cheating.
Cheating, obviously. Suppose I look back at you and I go, no, Angie, I'm not cheating. We just happen to be in the universe where I get 5 royal flushes in a row. What are you going to say? That's right. That's what I would say. I'd laugh, too. I'd say what? You'd say, that's nonsense. No, we're not in the you're cheating. Now, my response to her, and she said the same thing. She laughed and said, yeah, I would say you're cheating. And for her to come back and say, well, anything's possible, you might say, well, okay, anything is possible, but that's not how we base our conclusions on. We don't base our conclusions on possibilities. We base our conclusions based on the evidence and probability. What's more probable? That we're in the universe where I just happen to get 5 royal flushes in a row, or is it more probable that I'm cheating? It's far more probable I'm cheating, correct?
Correct.
So this multi-universe theory, and I'm glad you brought it up because it is one of the other objections we get to the fact that God created the universe, is really a very speculative theory which has absurd implications, and it just goes to show you how far people will go, Angie, to avoid the obvious conclusion that there's a creator God out there.
Well, none of it seems, I don't know. If you believe, I mean, I guess you just have to have the gift of faith, because these people that I hear talking, they don't really sound like they have it at all. And so because like you're saying, if there were multiple universes where there's different versions of you and I, then God would have to have made it and allow it. So,
it's all speculative, though. I mean, these people are doing everything they can to avoid God. Why? Well, there's a number of reasons for that, and unfortunately, we're out of time, Angie. But a great call. Thanks for calling in. If you'd like more on this kind of thing, go to our website, crossexamined.org. That's crossexamined with a D on the end of it, .org. There's a lot of articles and blog entries up there. And tune in next week, too, at this same time. See you then. God bless.